This is Darren from Danger by Degrees. Whenever there's an emergency, whenever there's a health crisis, a pandemic, an emergency response, there's always the first responders. They're the first ones on scene. They are in that, what you would call the reaction phase. They're the first ones there. They're there during the coping and the dealing with it. So when you have your crisis stage, you have your pretty much dealing with or the maintenance phase of the crisis, emergency, natural disaster, and then you have the recovery. The first responders are there in some shape or form the whole way through. The medical side is the one that is currently coping and dealing with, or in this maintenance phase, if you will. We're no longer in the start of this crisis. We're now in full-blown, it's happening, and we now got to deal with it. The first responders, those are the paramedics, those are the doctors, those are the healthcare, the nurses, the mental health workers. They're all the people that are helping those who are suffering from the COVID-19. Right now, I want to dedicate this video to Dr. Mills. She's a doctor from New York who just dealt with so much. She committed suicide having done this after a phenomenal amount of on-the-job stress, traumatic stress. It was just too much for her. And what I want to point out with this is just to give a face and an example of what's going on right now for not only the healthcare providers, but also the people that are going through this on the front lines. Often, because we're dealing with a pandemic, we're dealing with a healthcare crisis right now. The people that are dying, yes, they are the primary ones suffering from this. But the secondary ones, they're the families, they're the doctors who are treating non-stop, 24/7, all of the people that are coming in with the healthcare issues. Dr. Mills ended up catching COVID-19. She was recovering, but as her father was saying, something had changed in her. She had seemed detached. She wasn't her normal self. She had been reporting complaints that she had been feeling down, that there was just too much. And yet she went back for more. She had recovered somewhat from the COVID-19, and she had gone back to the hospital to continue being there for people. A lot of what we deal with in emergency response is what's called critical incident stress. This is the mental health angle that I want to talk about. In many of the videos that I've talked about already, we've talked about everything from, say, super spreading to the way that this virus affects. But this time, I want to talk about the mental health side of it. Not the people that are going through this, because believe me, if you've got the COVID-19, you have stresses, you have pains, you have things that are going on in your body that you don't know. Your body's not reacting, your body is breaking down. You don't know if you're going to live from one moment to the next because the pain is so much that your ability to think clearly is thrown out the window. But now we're talking to the people about who are treating you, who are there for you. What is critical incident stress? Critical incident stress is stress that occurs outside of normal situations. This is abnormal stress. This is abnormal events happening to somebody who has a normal range of reactions. So critical incident stress is an event that is the stress that is created by abnormal events through the lens of someone who's trying to normalize, to make sense of what is happening. So it is the stress that comes from abnormal events happening to you outside of your normal, everyday baseline of experience. So, as I've talked about, critical incident stress, it builds up in people. And those people who have good resiliency, those who have coping skills and have a good support network and take mental health breaks, if you will, generally will be able to overcome in time the critical incident stress. Because critical incident stress, if you repeatedly see it build up, and there's no way for the mind to normalize, to come to terms with it, to be able to have peace with it, will build up and create something called post-traumatic stress. You might have heard of PTSD, and this is what post-traumatic stress disorder is. PTSD is the ultimate kind of if you will, end logjam in your mind of all this critical incident stress. It's something that literally, say, some of the physical effects of PTSD could be the thalamus or the hypothalamus in your brain. It becomes enlarged. It is literally stuck in a permanent fight or flight mode. So people who have these symptoms of PTSD often physically will be in a hyper state of agitation. They'll be on guard constantly. They'll be having hypertension. They'll have high levels of stress. They will be suffering from mood disorders more likely. They will suffer from sleep disorders. That is, like, PTSD is something that I will cover at another time, but I just wanted you to know that when you deal with critical incident stress, if it is not dealt with in a timely manner, and it's something that is repeatedly built up, it's different for everybody. But if you continue to have critical incident stress, or CIS, episodes constantly thrown at you, and you have no means of connecting to something normal, to connect something to your routine, your own sense of security, it can develop into something when you finally get out of that chronic and constant critical incident stress period into something called post-traumatic stress, which I will cover at another time. But for now, I just want to talk about what all of these events have done. So Dr. Mills is someone who, like so many healthcare professionals from Italy and Spain and the UK and France, China even, and Iran and Thailand, and all these countries that are suffering massive numbers, even in Quebec and in Ontario in Canada, or New York in America, or even in California in some spots. The doctors and the frontline workers who are constantly dealing with these events. Hell, I'd even throw in a lot of the people that work at the nursing homes, the care homes. There have been so many people who have died in these care homes and these nursing homes. It is beyond the normal range of their experience. So where, say, like someone dies probably every day at some busy emergency rooms and at busy hospitals, it's a normal fact of life, and it's not going to cause too much stress or pain to those who see it. But what about the people that it's just constant, and it's not your normal way that people pass? It would be, say, like the emergency ward after, say, a mass shooting. It's something that is so beyond the normal range of what people are used to dealing with. It jars them out of a sense of the reality. They're put almost beside themselves. They're so far beyond what they have gone through. Just think of all the pain, all of the anguish, all of the anxiety that people who are going through this right now are experiencing. And Dr. Mills, she went back into it. She had caught it, and she went back into it after she had recovered enough to help. And just think of what she must have been going through, where her whole world was just crashing around her. She, as her father was saying, she sort of seemed detached, that she just wasn't able to relate to people. Literally, her sense of self must have been completely crushed. She had been going through so much pain, so much anguish, and so much literally soul-numbing trauma, seeing all these people pass, that it probably just, her ability to check into reality was removed. And the only way that she felt that she could end whatever was happening to her was to take her own life. This is what critical incident stress and post-traumatic stress can do to people. And think about it like this. Right now, probably as the making of this video, there's been about 300,000 plus people dying worldwide that we know of. And probably add 40-50% on top of that because of all the deaths that happen in home or at the care homes that were never tested, that were just, they didn't fit the criteria of what those governments considered to be a proper COVID-19 death. Just think of it like this. In every emergency, in every crisis, every disaster, there are those who lose their lives because of the event, and then there's those who they are lost because they commit suicide because of, say, lack of health care, because they just weren't able to be saved when they needed a helping hand. People this time around, I'm glad to say, are showing the appreciation to the healthcare providers. They're showing the respect and the love to those people who are on the front lines. And it's in that honor that for Dr. Mills and for all of those doctors and nurses and first line providers who caught this and have passed, I just wanted to say thank you. And you're in my thoughts, you're in my prayers, and I hope that we don't have any more Dr. Mills. But if we have a second wave of this virus, if we have a third wave, we're probably going to see a lot of burnout within our healthcare providers. We're going to see a lot more secondary carnage. That's why I implore everybody to, show the support to, if you're a healthcare provider, and you probably know this, you know what your own stressors are. Try if you need, there are mechanisms to help. All I can say is our thoughts and our prayers, our appreciation beyond anything that you know goes out to you. And I just want every one of you to know that you're here for us. And we, in whatever way we can be, we'll be there for you. And I just want to say to Dr. Mills, to her family, my heartfelt condolences. And thank you for the service, Dr. Mills. Even though I'm not from your country, I appreciate everything that you did. And I'm just sorry that there wasn't anybody there who could have helped you when you needed it. And hopefully you will be the only one and the last one who's a secondary victim of this condition that we're going through, this virus, this outbreak, this pandemic. And then with that, you've been with Danger by Degrees. I'm there.